Alright, so it's been a minute since I've uploaded anything to this channel, and I swear there is a good reason for it. It's that I have a job. But in all seriousness, there's going to be some changes going forward, and I kind of want to just fill you guys in and let you know what's going on. For one, I'm going to be switching to some game dev focused stuff rather than what I'm doing right now, and there will be more on that later. I'm also going to be taking all of my old videos and making them private minus the handful that I think kind of popped off because they don't really align with the content that I'm going to be making going forward. The goal here with this channel is to try and produce one video a month with the aim of either talking about game development process for a game that I will be working on and be talking from my perspective, or focus on game dev aspects that I find intriguing, like level design, maybe specific designs from games, or covering games that are kind of underrated and talking about the aspects of their design that is interesting. I personally believe focusing on these aspects can kind of make my own personal game development journey much better and potentially improve the things that I make as a whole. With all that being said, the next half of this video is going to be me laying out the basics of my game so I can hold myself accountable for its development, as well as build some intrigue potentially. So, here it goes. My goal is to develop a social sim RPG similar to Persona or the more recently released Metaphor ReFantazio. I want the game to emphasize player agency as often in series like Persona or Metaphor. The player is frequently railroaded into certain activities like school or sleeping. And while fitting for those games and those narrative settings, I feel like they're kind of a limiter on player freedom, and I kind of want to alleviate some of that tension. And the ways I'm going to try to alleviate this problem are as follows. Number one, I'm going to give the player complete freedom on any day while remaining time limited via dungeon or main story quests. This will kind of allow the player to pick and choose whether or not they want to fuck off or kind of like just straight go for the story. Metaphor does this very good, but in the Persona series as a whole, this isn't something that they explore very frequently, and I want to kind of give the player that choice. Number two is going to be putting quality rewards behind the social sim elements. So extra abilities or bonus experience, things that are kind of simple. And this will be to make sure that the player has a reason to interact with those things and make sure that the social sim elements are actually filtered into the gameplay rather than kind of just a side thing that doesn't really have a lot of value. Number three is going to be ensure the story rewards are ample and good so that no content is locked behind side content. What I mean in this regard is that I don't want people who just play the story to feel like they're missing out. Obviously, I want people who explore side content to benefit from the side content, maybe extra characters, extra modes, extra classes, things like that, as well as potentially other endings. But making sure that the main story players, they get their stuff is just to ensure that they actually don't have to feel like they need to interact with those social elements. Obviously, I want you to, and the main point of the previous thing was to try to get people to want to interact with them, but I don't want you to feel like you have to if it's really not your speed. If it's not really your speed, though, I can't understand why you'd be playing a game like this, but I digress. The idea here is that I want to make sure that both story players and side content players are getting the exact thing that they want without compromising either one's experience. As for the RPG side of the game, this is the part where I get to design fun stuff instead of just social interaction. I want it to be turn-based, similar to Persona or Metaphor mentioned earlier, things like Expedition 33 recently becoming very popular. And I want a pretty large focus on curated dungeons for the main story, kind of these big, grandiose, interesting dungeons that kind of have cool like centerpieces or cool plot points, and kind of smaller, narrow in scope dungeons for things like side quests, and even some side quests that don't involve any combat whatsoever, more the social element. Within these, I will also include social stats for combat and non-combat scenarios. This means things like your strength letting you open doors a la Cyberpunk, or being able to talk your way out of a situation a la Fallout, for instance. And I also would like to include a skill tree progression. And the main things, the things that I want to highlight in the game initially on release, things that I think need to be in the game to ensure its success, are as follows. Number one, RPG stats for social situations and combat encounters. As mentioned previously, these are to make RPG elements more interesting from player to player, as different players will kind of try to focus on different builds or different aspects of the character in RPG progression. Number 2 thing that I need, separate levels for progression and for class. This kind of seems strange when you hear it, but what I mean is allow the player to have a player level that maintains all of their main stats, things like speech, strength, charm, stuff like that. You know, the normal RPG stats maintained within their player level, and then a class level. So say you pick a mage and you want to be a mage, you can build your mage class up whilst not compromising your player level. So your mage stats will scale with your player level, and if you say, I kind of don't want to be a mage anymore, you can switch to like a brawler or melee class, and that allows you to keep your player stats and possibly maintain your damage, but you have a new class, and the point of those class levels is to unlock abilities, things like new moves, maybe some interaction with the party. Maybe there's like a strategist class where you unlock the ability to change party members mid-combat or stuff like that, where the class level dictates more of a play style, and the player level dictates your stats as well as your major components for the RPG side of things. Of course, you can't mention all of that without number 3 here, which is having a bunch of classes. And not only a bunch of classes, but ones that can be changed on the fly. This is going to allow players to have more fun, kind of mixing and matching abilities. I kind of want to have abilities that are learned, be interchangeable via the player, even though you may not be using the class from those abilities, but we'll kind of see how that goes. But effectively, this would kind of make it so that you don't have to feel locked into one thing. If you want to switch, you can switch. I plan to have items for those things so you can buff a class up if you feel like it's maybe too weak or you want a specific thing. You can focus it, earn experience for it. You know, just like if you want to do magic, do magic. If you don't like it, switch to melee. No problem, no hassle, no respecs. Just a class to equip through a menu. Simple, easy. Number 4 for things I want to have included in the game at the beginning are side activities or stat-based puzzles. Now, these are kind of like events that the player can have varying degrees of success on based on their character's social stats. Very similar to Persona's exams, or in some cases for Persona, flirting with characters requires you to have certain levels of charm. Because that's like, you know, you're not going to be charmed by something, or maybe you have to be gutsy, you know, just stats that affect the gameplay outside of just hit harder and, you know, do funny thing. I want it to be, they can impact your relationships, they can impact your thing, like whatever the fuck you're working on, that's kind of what I'm aiming for here. Number 5, a large amount of items and abilities. These things are super important. Giving the player a lot to choose from allows you to kind of differentiate yourself from another player and build your character how you want to without feeling pressured to try any one singular thing. Having like ample amounts of healing, ample amount of XP items is great, but I also want to make sure that people are using these items and abilities. And you know, it's like maybe I don't want to just have lightning and red lightning. I want to have unique visual indication for this stuff. I want to make sure that the abilities feel unique and powerful, and that when you're earning them, it feels good. And I also want to make sure that you're kind of utilizing the items and tools that you have. I'm thinking about potentially having an item limiter or something that benefits you from using items. A lot of games like Devil May Cry tend to focus on not wanting you to use items, and I think games like that kind of make you want to hoard don't really reward you for trying to, you know, do something interesting. Expedition 33 has a very good way of handling that, which is basically making all of your unique items like just instantly refill whenever you get the chance, so that you feel like you're not wasting them if you just use them. And I kind of want to see if I can fit a way for that to fit into this game here. Of course, the next thing is number 6, a cast of party members. Having a cast of likable party members and non-party members can really bring out the best in decent RPGs. Everyone loves characters like Gustav from Expedition 33 or Ryuji from Persona 5. And having them be kind of like reliable as party members or having unique gameplay rewards via social interaction can really make for some like interesting experiences that players can attach to and really build off of. Of course, the final thing that I need here is a defined style Now, a lot of RPGs go one of two ways. You have the 2D RPG or you have the 3D RPG. Obviously, we've been having a lot of 3D RPGs again recently. We've had the magnificent Expedition 33, but things like Skyrim, Starfield, the Fallout franchise, at least in more recent memory, have been these big, grandiose 3D RPGs. And then while the 2D RPG itself isn't dying, a lot of old RPGs tended to lean towards the 2D side. Original Final Fantasy, Golden Sun, Chrono Trigger, these are all 2D RPGs, and I want my style to be unique amongst those things. And for that, I have picked what is likely the hardest of these, which is the 2.5D RPG. The reason I say this is the hardest is because one of the best RPGs of recent memory is 2.5D, and that is the Octopath Traveler and Octopath Traveler 2 series of games. They are amazing. Bravely, I believe, also kind of touches on a 2.5D. The new Dragon Quest remakes, all doing this 2.5D thing, but it requires a lot of work. It's a lot of sprite work, it's a lot of 3D models, and really good lighting. Tends to be the big deal breaker here, is like you just need great lighting. So 2.5D is the style. I want to kind of push myself and make something that I might not have otherwise been comfortable with, and so with that, 2.5D seems to be able to go. I'm really hoping that I can bring this world to life the way I want to and kind of just do my thing. That's all for like the main goals, so we'll kind of just move on from there. With all of those kind of main goals, stated, it should go without mentioning that I also intend to write an amazing story, in my opinion, and have it play out throughout the game. I haven't really ironed out all of the details for the story, and so for now I will not be sharing anything with you, but as time goes on I will maybe drip feed you guys information about the game, and I hope that it will interest you all in a way that seems fun and cool. For now though, look forward to an actual video, as this is kind of cheating in a way. It's more just a talking head video about some shit that you probably don't really know or care about, but on November-ish is when I'm aiming for the next one to be out. Should be about a week into November, and hopefully it will go well. I look forward to talking to you guys again. By then I'll either have some kind of crazy game dev video or I will be talking about game design. For now though, I will see you guys later.